All right, folks, sorry about that. I had a little audio glitch. And let's fix that. There we go, folks. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's professional audio engineering here. Folks, hello. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. It's a one-man show. What is that I'm thinking of? There's a Dick Van Dyke, it just popped in my mind, where he was like a one-man like musical thing, where he's playing like the cymbals and doing all this other stuff, and that's just me. I'm just hanging out here. It's just me. I'm trying to pull something together, so that I can hear you guys and put out some content. Des says, "Is this normal, guys? This is my first time here." Yes. So I love to kind of set the right tone. I like to dance. That's Church of Eight Wheels. That's my intro and outro song. I like to kind of make the point that this should be for fun. Learning is fun. And when you're in the right mood, it's easier to learn. So that's what I like to do. That's why I start out by dancing. But just to remind you, of course, I'm Big Cheds on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube, where we are today. I have a lot of great educational stuff for you. I would say you should start out with the Trading Encyclopedia. It's a new playlist I started 4, 5, 6 months ago. And there's a brand new video every day. These are 3-minute videos designed to teach you like important concepts. I have studied TA professionally. I did CMT1. I've read pretty much most of the textbooks. And what I try to do is take that complicated, like the academic stuff, and make it a little bit easier for you to digest. So like sometimes when I'll put out a tweet, I'll put out a lot of like terms that you may not be aware of. And that's what I have the playlist for. What's a throwback? What we did Hikake reversal. We'll go over that today. You know, what's a tower top? What is these moving averages? So check out the Trading Encyclopedia. You want to start with that. And you kind of dive in further. I have published 4 books, which I think is pretty cool. I'm working on my 5th book, which is a poker and trading crossover book. But now that the Trading Journal's out, I'm making the entire Trading Quotes book free. That's in this playlist. I'm also making the Trading Journal free. That's in this playlist. Trading Encyclopedia. I'm making Trading Wisdom free. That's in this playlist. So check out, you know, pretty much all the great stuff I have for you, and the long form interviews. I try to get really smart people. I had Chartman Dan recently. We had a great conversation. So check that out. To remind you, I am a partner at BingX. I've worked with them for 6, 7, 8 years. Well, 6 years. So if you're looking for an exchange, check that out. And I'm a founding analyst at Bitcoin Live. So you're here, you know, you're here for Bitcoin probably, and we'll talk about that. I have a lot of thoughts. I want to go over multi-time frames. I want to kind of walk us through the chart and update you. It's been a week since my last stream. I stream here about once a week. I'm active on Twitter like all the time, but I save, you know, most of my long form analysis for Bitcoin Live, but I still try to squeeze in a video here once a week. So just shoot me a message in the chat room. Let me know if there's any chart you want to look at, if there's anything about Bitcoin specifically that you want to look at, and I'll try to do that. But you know, at first, I'm just going to start by going through the chart, and I'm going to start riffing and kind of work my way through, of course, and we will go from there. So what are we looking at on Bitcoin? So, you know, we're spending a lot of time below the daily MA200, and I was just kind of looking at this, and the question has been, are we going to do what we've done the last few times, right? You can see on the daily chart, this price action versus the daily MA200, right? And the daily MA200 is important because in classical charting, the MA200 is the trend, right? MA means SMA, or, you know, simple moving average. And let's do this so you can see it a little bit better. I think you can see it just fine there. So the price versus the daily MA200, right? So we see this here in the daily, and this is reflected as the price versus the MA50. And if we remember, right, from 2021, we had these beautiful advance, EMA8, MA50, EMA8, MA50. And when the trend started to bend back in 2021, I started to get concerned, right? I was actually expecting bullish continuation, you know, back in 2021. I was thinking we were going to do, even though we had the up thrust and all, I was thinking we were going to do an ascending triangle and continue on. And it wasn't really until we started to lose, you know, the weekly 50 that I started to get concerned. And I think a lot of people have been watching that level, you know, for that reason. And if you note, after we came out of our bottom here in late 2022, you know, we had the beautiful, beautiful entry, you know, 2-level filter or simple recapture or just number of throwbacks. And we've just been accelerating since then, and it's been EMA 8, right, to MA 50, EMA 8 to MA 50. And by the way, if you want to know, what these moving averages are, if you want to know, oh, he says, I like you, you should sub. Thanks, brother. If you want to know what these moving averages are, you can just go check out the playlist, Trading Encyclopedia. I go over it. But, it's been EMA 8 to MA 50, EMA 8 to MA 50. And so it's like, are we going to do what we did again? So I have a bunch of tweets. Like, I've been super active. I've been trying to figure out, and this one, I'm going to start with this. This is really interesting. So the question, like the $1 million question, right, is are we going to do what we've done the last 2 times here, where we tested the MA 50, we had a sweep and a recapture. We had a sweep and a recapture, and we continued, right? And like the real question is, are we going to get the same thing here, right? Whether you mark it there for your sweep or 107.5. So I was looking at the EMA 8 versus the EMA 34. And I keep the questions going, because once I stop riffing, I'm going to go right into the chat room. And then I want to hear all your questions, okay? So let me just fix things up here. So let's pull things away. Let's simplify it. I want to remove this for a second. Let's remove the Bollingers. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the EMA 8 versus the price, versus the 34. Let's even hide the price for a minute. Right, let's take a look. Let's go to here. We'll go to settings. We'll go to hide. So the 8 is the exponential moving average, 8 period. That means the most recent candle has the most price weighting. It's 8 periods, but it's exponential. So like the most recent candle's has more price weighting than 8 candles ago. And then you have the 34 is the yellow line, and you can use these as crossing signals. So if you folks use like MACD, if you're familiar with MACD, it's actually 12 and 26 versus 8 and 34. You've got the signal line, the MACD line. You've got the 12 and 26. Here I use 8 and 34. You could use 5 and 10. You can use simple 5 and simple 15. But these are the moving averages that have worked really well for me. And we'll go back and let's review the 2021 top. Strong advance, tried to cross, it failed, came back, and finally crossed over. So we've seen here, actually, we've had 1, 2, 3 attempted crosses, but the price has rallied. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, but if you look at it just this way, we're right back at the critical point where we've bounced the last few times. And the question is, are we going to do it again? Kind of looked like this rolling over here. The 8 was rolling over, but it found support. So we're at a kind of do or die spot, and anybody can tell you that. I'm sure pretty much every stream you're looking at is telling you we're at a do or die spot, but this is just an interesting way to look at it, right? That's thus far 3 failed crosses. This is the 4th attempt, okay? So that's the 8 versus the 34. We'll get into that tweet in a second. So that is interesting. Now, if this 8 starts to close below the 34 here in the weekly, that's going to be that's going to be a big problem, okay? That will bring back in the price, and let's bring back the 50. So here's the 50. So if we start to close, we have the cross, and we start to close below, the weekly MA 50, that's a strong suggestion that the trend has topped for the meantime. And then we start to look at prior structure. Now, we got here by throwing back. We had a series of throwbacks or bullish retests. So for quite a while, we were looking primed for bullish continuation, okay? So we kind of ignored the last couple candles. We'll slide back maybe to about there. You can see. So we were in a pretty much a straight up throwback environment. Well, throwback is where, say, you have an advance, and we did here an inverted head and shoulders, okay? You have left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here's the peak, and did something up here and came back and retested the breakout level. We were doing that. And we were doing a very generally nice throwback environment. We're watching for continuation. And then the price started to lose the 107.5 level. When you start to lose the 107.5 level, you re-enter this structure here. Certainly the shoulders and probably the entire structure, because once you want to stay above the prior consolidation range. Once you start to enter it, you can test the bottom of the range, right? So we went from pretty much primary continuation to consolidation and heading back towards a test, of this entire structure. Okay, you can see the moving averages rolling over, and we see the loss of 107.5. I keep mentioning 107.5, and the reason I mention that is just seems like such a very important pivot level. So we'll go back here, and you look at just the recent price structure here, Okay, let's clean this up. Let's draw it across. Okay, you can see support, it was support, it was support, it was support, now it's resistance. We just had a pullback or an underside retest, okay? So we had a breakdown, we had a little bit of an inside up action where you have the mother bar, the inside bar, it advanced, and then it rejected. And some people went long in the 4-hour structure. There was reason to take a long in some of the 4-hour structure, like 106.5, but I kind of suggested at Bitcoin Live and in other spots to wait for 107.5, and the price is pretty much true to that pivot. So given that we've just had this recent response and rejection, and by the way, folks, thanks for being here, and thanks for listening to me ramble while I have an orange mask. Based on that recent rejection at 107.5, that makes it a really important pivot level such that you can absolutely take a long if the price can get back up above it. Okay, so you have that marked out. We walked our way through that. Let's bring back the Bollinger Bands. Let's bring back the MA200. We talked about the price versus the MA200, and now we have the Bollinger Bands, and we're kind of riding the lower Bollinger Band, right? We're riding the lower Bollinger Band. We're in, we're in a corrective channel here: high, lower, low. Lower low. So, I had been watching for a higher low at some point. I'd been watching for a higher low from here, and we didn't quite get it. We had the underside retest and rejection, and now it's starting to roll over. Okay, so we're sub EMA 8, we're sub 107.5, and the name of the game is really going to be, my friends, is weekly close. Okay, so let's switch back to the weekly chart. Here we are in the weekly chart. So we could very easily put in a, nice long lower shadow. That would be just what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered, right? Something like that was decent. We go back here. That would be ideal, though. That was kind of a volatility. This is a high wave candle. A little bit different, but it had the long. This is a predominantly lower shadowed candle. It's a bullish candle, and it gave you the sweep and recapture, and you even had another test, a little bit later. Sweep and recapture, right? So this candle here, sweep and recapture. So can we get that? And what's the level? What's the level for that, right? So we talked about 107.5. Is there another level even closer, right? Is there another level even closer to allow us to ride the trend? Because remember, our whole purpose, our whole mission statement is find a trend and ride the trend, right? If I want to go long, I want an uptrend that's dipped. If I want to go short, I want a downtrend that's ripped. And we'll talk about some downtrends. We'll talk about some charts I have shorts in, and charts, stuff like that. So, but we want to capture the trend and ride it. So maybe we don't want to wait for 107.5. Is there another level? Well, if you look at the daily structure, you can see right here, and I put out a tweet. So even though we're breaking down, I'm still trying to game plan for you folks. And these are tools I've taught you in every stream that you've seen going on for a while. We'll get to the Hikake in a second. So I put out this tweet, and this is as we're breaking down. And even as we're breaking down, I'm preparing and saying, well, let's keep an eye out for a momentum reversal. We don't want to get caught off guard. I know everyone says it's over. We feel like it's over. But what if it's not over? And how can we position ourselves to take advantage if it's not over? And based on the daily structure, and this is a tweet from 20 hours ago, we're breaking down, and we see the series of lower wicks. So I essentially said here, for a spring thesis, a spring is a bullish retest. It's a false breakdown. You can think of Wyckoff accumulation with the spring in phase 3. But very simply, it's just where you have a support level lost and recaptured, and on watch for that. Started to happen with no follow through in yesterday's candle. We'll get to that. But I said you can use a sweep and a recapture of these daily lows. And I said risk is defined by this level itself. What does that mean? What do you folks think that means? What do you think that means? Well, risk it's your stop loss. And the stop loss is when the trading idea fails thematically, right? That's the whole point. Like I'm in this trade because X, and when X fails to be true, you're no longer in the trade. That's your stop loss. And oftentimes it has to do with a price level nearby. Risk is defined by this level. That means if you're long because the price recaptures this level, you only hold as long as it holds above that level, or maybe just slightly below. All right. So on watch for a spring on watch for a recapture. And we started to get it with very minor follow through. And we have here BTC now flexing 1H bullish Hikake at high time frame support. You'd be like, Cheds, what are you talking about? Like, here's the problem. I know I know so many patterns, classical charting, Eastern TA, they're all swimming around in my head. And, that's why I made the encyclopedia for you, right? Because I actually have a video on Hikake. I linked it right here. But what is the Hikake? It's essentially an inside bar breakdown fake out, right? So you have the mother bar, you have the inside bar, you have the inside bar bear break, but then fake out. It's a nice momentum reversal. It's kind of along the same lines as a spring. Because momentum fake outs are really some of the best trades where, like a false breakdown or even like a head and shoulders, like a head and shoulders that fails to complete, right? Everyone calls it a head and shoulders and it breaks the right shoulder. You got to go long. It's a beautiful momentum reversal. So we had the Hikake forming and it was forming at the level where we were looking for that daily spring, right? And I quoted the tweet and I gave you a video, right? And we started to bounce, but how much follow through did we really get? Let's take a look. All right. So we know, and I'm trying to show you folks, like how to use different time frames and the rule in classical and all this stuff is review. I say this stuff every stream. But after volatility, this classical charting, after volatility, you can drop to a lower time frame. And when the price is at a key level, that's when you can drop to a lower time frame. So, because the price was testing the weekly MA50, testing weekly range lows, you can drop to 4 hour, 1 hour. And that's why I was on the 1 hour. And so we see here, we see the Hikake, we see the inside bar, bear break, fake out. And it was a very minor rally with no follow through. Put in this little shooting star. It's technically not really a shooting star. Well, it is, but again, as you know, you'd want a shooting star like at the upper Bollinger Band, not kind of here, this far down. So you don't get much of a strong signal on it, but it did give you a rejection. Equilibrium, high or low, looking for, tightening range, boom, 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 resolution. So there was no follow through in what could have been a nice hold, initial hold at the high time frame level. So even though it seemed like we are breaking down, even though the sky is falling, I'm still always on watch for the next best trade. And even right now, I'm still on watch for a recapture. So if we can get back up above 99.5, I think you have to take a long. I don't have to. I think you should if you want to ride the trend, because there's a pretty good chance if it recaptures 99.5, there's a pretty good chance it at least tests 107.5 range, right? And a pretty good chance it continues with the trend because we still have a weekly uptrend. We're still talking about a very strong weekly uptrend. We have look at this price distance. Look at the momentum of this. Look at the distance from the price to the rising MA200. So we have an unquestionably strong weekly uptrend. The question is, the trend is potentially bending, and it's at the point where it's held the last few times. So because it's at this major pivot point, great questions. I see some questions coming up, and I'll get to them. Because we're at this major pivot point, you want to be on watch for, a clue that the price is going to rejoin the larger trend, which is why we have that 1 hour trade, the Hikake, and we have the, testing these daily range lows, and why I'm marking out this level even right now. And I will personally definitely take this trade if we recapture 99.5, right? So we need to very simply be on watch for that. Now, what if it doesn't happen? What does it mean? Okay. So that's the game plan for bulls continuing, right? That's the game plan for the price rejoining the trend. And by the way, folks, thanks for hanging out with me. What if it fails here, right? What if we just really do maybe even rally and do further undersides and continue down, okay? I think very, very much simply, very, very much so, this entire range is in play, and I talked about that after the failed throwback. We dropped back into this range. So with any consolidation range, let's say you have an advance, you do a bear rectangle, you do a bullish, I want to be more careful here, a bullish rectangle or a box in candlestick theory. You do this, you do whatever, you do all this, right? You set up this range, well-defined peak, peak and trough, and you break out. If you retest it and you come back, once you get into the range, once you're starting to test the range, you can test the bottom of the range. Like the whole range comes into play, right? The idea of a throwback is once this resistance is broken, it should hold its support, right? So that is the case here. This target is very much in play, which is right around 76, 77K. So if we don't hold, I'd say like in the next few days, if we don't rally and put in the wick and recapture 99.5, I think it's very reasonable that we, in some way or another, kind of drift down and do test, and do test the 80K, 78 to 80K range. Okay, it's no guarantee that it holds there. It probably would hold at least initially. And again, we're going to have to follow the price structure. You could see it holding and then just underside of this level maybe. And you just have to go from there, right? But you just really want to see it hold here. Otherwise, all these other targets come into play. So what is it, Friday? I'll stream again next week, and we'll have more of an update from the Sunday candle. And then I'll be able to really kind of pontificate and project out a little bit more based on what we see Sunday. But that's kind of where we're at on Bitcoin and just a general game plan of how you can play, the next few days. Now, Ethereum just looks like it's headed for 2850. I've been saying that for a little while. I think that's logical to see it go there. That's going to be absent a recapture of this structure right around, 3750 to 3800. I don't like how it failed to hold on the throwback. Again, similar to what Bitcoin did. We had the descending right-angled broadening wedge. And when this broke out, everybody was calling for 10K. All right, descending right-angled broadening wedge. I have a video on that in the encyclopedia. You can go to encyclopedia. You can sort by like most popular. Here it is, descending right-angled broadening wedge. It was essentially, I used this as an example, and it really should have held here in the throwback. And there were measured moves 6,500 for linear mode. Sam says, "Help us, bro. We need you." I appreciate you. I'm doing my best. I wish I could move the price. But we had these measured moves, right? And, again, I keep making the point, targets are mostly useless. When people ask me what's your target, like if I told you 6,500, you would, okay, I'm going to hold till 6,500, but what if this happens, right? You have to always be ready for new information to adapt your approach. So focusing on price targets, I think, is a distraction. You really just want to stay focused on structure and follow along because, after the breakout, it failed at the all-time high, aka the obstacle. And I have a video on this. It's called Measured Move with Obstacle. It's in here somewhere. There's just too many videos. I think I have like several hundred videos now already. But it's the idea of when you have a breakout, you want to be aware of price structure above. Again, we'll use like a bull rectangle. Let's say back here, it did a bear rectangle. Okay, and it broke down to blah, blah, blah. So you'd say, well, let's do a little bit bigger. So you'd say you have a big old rectangle. You say, okay, it's breaking out. I'm going to take the measured move, the height of the rectangle, so it's going to go up to here. The problem is you have the obstacle. You have the prior resistance in the way. So even though you have a target based in this structure, you can't ignore the obstacle, along the way to your measured move. So when people just get hung up on the target, this is just a great example here of why targets are very, just a distraction in my view, projection of where it's going to go, right? All right, Ethereum and Solana is struggling. Could be doing head and shoulders here in the weekly, but it's not a head and shoulders till it breaks down. That would be here. Kind of level to level, you're seeing a series of support failures. Failed hold here at 208 to 210 range. Failed hold, 195. Failed hold, 180. Failed hold here, looking to be failed hold at 145. Right? You see this higher low is now essentially being violated. So you're seeing a loss of structure in the chart. And one that had been one of the best looking charts for sure had started to roll over. And it kind of actually looks like the Wyckoff distribution chart, which is kind of interesting. Distribution schematic. I actually just recorded a video on that for the Trading Encyclopedia. It will be out in a little while. I hope your health is okay. I'm doing great. I've actually, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. I do martial arts now. I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years, and I lost a bunch of weight. Like after my mom died, I gained, she had cancer, and after I had cancer, my mom had cancer, and she passed away, and I just went into like a pretty big depression. I gained a bunch of weight, and then I had a midlife crisis, and I said, you know what? That's not me. So I'm feeling great. I'm strong. Thank you for asking. So that's Solana. It's in a little bit of trouble as well as with the rest of the market. Now there's a bunch of altcoins I want to talk about. But before I do that, I want to touch base with you in the chat room. This is a great opportunity for you now to you hit subscribe, and then you can just comment. You don't have to subscribe. If you're watching, you're just hanging out, like, thank you for watching. And even if you're watching this like a week later, it will hold up. There's value here. Thank you for watching live, and thanks for watching a replay. All right, what's going on? Spencer, DW, Roger, Major, nice to see you. Mohammed, okay, Kale, Daryl, Rocket Man, everybody else, folks. And by the way, if I missed your comment, I do apologize. It's just me. I don't have a team. I just like to make content, so I don't have a moderator. Nobody does my graphics. You'll see when I post the videos, the graphics are weak. It's just me. I'm literally giving away my stuff. Like, my books are free. I'm making all my stuff free. So pretty much everything I do is free. Of course, you can join Bitcoin Live, and I've been doing that I haven't missed a video in 8 years. Like, I do it twice a week, and I'm really proud of it. But, pretty much what I do is free. And I enjoyed that. So let's see. Let's get with the questions. All right. Michael Burry, whatever. I don't really have any thoughts on Michael Burry. Other people have thoughts on that. Hello from Lithuania. What's going on? Let's see. The dancing. Okay. What is your take on the XRP BTC chart? That's an interesting question. So, a BTC pair basically just means what is the strength of X versus Bitcoin, right? Whatever it is. And I generally don't recommend you trade BTC pairs because you're adding a variable, right? You have a numerator and a denominator, right? Like this is XRP BTC. This could be going up just because XRP is going down less than Bitcoin's going down, for example, but you're still losing money, right? And so I just recommend you play USD pairs. There's not much of a trend on this pair. I mean, that's pretty evident. We see the trend with the sideways MA200. It shows that there's no trend, but we do see some underside action, right? We do see some underside action. We have a very well-described support zone, a breakdown, and a bounce into that. So it's sideways, but it looks to be probably going down. So this tells me that I'd say in the next few months, XRP will probably underperform Bitcoin, is my best guess based on this chart. Chris says it looks pretty solid. With potential inverse head and shoulders. I don't really see an inverse head and shoulders. I don't know what you mean. I don't really know what you mean. Solid move up in the short term. We have a weekly stochastics cross. I don't really use stochastics. I do have the RSI. I don't really use RSI, though, because I can see the RSI in the price. When you've done it long enough, you can kind of see oscillators in the price. I mean, we're not really getting much here in the on the RSI. It's confirming the trend. OBV is confirming the trend. So there's no information in the oscillators for me, and I just see a clear underside. So I think this is probably going to reject and go down. Just from a momentum standpoint, this will probably reject and head back down. That's just my best guess. Okay. Oh, Spencer says, I rewinded the video just to hear the Church of Eight Wheels. I've been using that song on YouTube for like 7-8 years. I love it. Okay, CoinMash, what's going on? And folks, thank you for being here. Just shoot a question into the chat. CoinMash says, looking for a solid bottom to get out of my leverage. Oof. When I hear people say get out, I get PTSD because I've been in so many situations where like I just needed to get out, where I was trapped, And like if you think about my work, if you look at my work and if you review all the quotes and all the stuff I tweet out, it's just like a lot of it's trading psychology, like the biggest losses, all your biggest losses were once small losses screaming to be cut, and just trying to teach you the right mentality. And I do that in the trading journal, in the book, and you can get it for free in the encyclopedia, but I teach you about, how to use a trading journal, why to use it, good trader habits, emotional management. And like mindfulness is key. You have to be aware of yourself and your behavior. Because otherwise you'll just kind of end up in a situation where you say, well, how did I end up? How did I get into this situation where I'm just like praying, for the market to do X, Y, and Z so I can get out of my position? You've lost control at some point. So CoinMash says, I'm looking for a solid bottom to get out of my leverage. This may be my last play for a while. 4 years full-time, still net loss. Yikes. Well, so CoinMash, but like, what have you done to fix things, CoinMash? Like, tell me, are you using a trading journal? Right? Like, every time you lose money in a trade, there's value there for you. You shouldn't just move on and play something else. You just stop and examine the trade, right? Like the residue, aka like what's left over from any failed trade. There's a lesson there for you to learn. So, it's been a pretty good market. There's been a lot of really good trading opportunities. I think if you've been defining your risk, for example, if you've said, it's trending, it's set this breakout level, I'm going to take a long if it breaks the level, and if it, as long as it holds, I'm in it. And then maybe move your stop loss a little bit and take a little bit of partial profit, just going level to level, defining your risk, and then just sticking to your stop loss. You should be okay. So I'd be curious to know, and I understand you're frustrated, and I've been there many, many times. I've zeroed out. You folks probably think I'm a master trader, but I make dumb mistakes all the time, And what I try to do is slow myself down and examine them. Use the trading journal. Sometimes I'll make myself do push-ups in between trades, or when I think I'm going to do a trade, I'll do a push-up or two, a set of push-ups or two. And then I'll say, wait a minute, do I still like the trading idea? You find some way to slow yourself down. So you're looking for a solid bottom to get out of my leverage. Well, maybe you're using too much leverage. So there's a couple things there. I'd be curious to hear more, CoinMash, about how you got into this moment. Roger says, slowly I've learned a lot. Thank you, Roger. And learning takes time. When you learn something, there's a memory transfer process where it goes from short-term hippocampus to the long term. I think it's the prefrontal cortex. I'm not sure, but there's a process of learning where you have the initial learning, you have to sleep, you have your REM sleep, you have all these like processes transferring to long-term storage, and then you grow new neurons to make it easier to do those actions in the future, and like yada yada yada. Like, it takes time, right? So give yourself time. You honestly, just this stuff, I literally have studied TA professionally. I'm like, there's like only a few people like me who do crypto who are CMT, like chartered market technician level, like professional TA. And like, so I create the videos for you, but it's for me. Like, like I recorded the videos on the Wyckoff today. Like, I had to review the stuff. I recorded videos on Ichimoku the other day. Like, I had to review stuff first. So by teaching you, I'm learning myself. So just soak up this stuff. Like, you really should watch my videos, especially if you're struggling. There's no excuse. I think I've got a great educational library, and I love your feedback, and thank you for saying that. All right. What's your take on the daily? Spencer wants to know, what's my take on the daily death cross? Okay. So a death cross. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with the death cross. First of all, I do recommend you go watch the video in the Trading Encyclopedia playlist called Moving Average Basics. It's in here somewhere. What are my moving averages? Nope. Moving Average Basics, Trading Wisdom Lesson 41. It's video 25 ranked by popularity. So there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind with Moving Average Basics. So the question is, what do I think about the death cross? So what is the death cross? So it's not the 34, it's not the Bollinger Band, it's not the EMA 8. Very simply, it's the 50 versus the 200. So with a moving average cross, you want to think about a few things. First of all, proximity to price. So if when the price is crossing, the price is very nearby, it's a stronger signal than like if the price is if the moving averages are crossing, but the price is down here, like some of the move is already baked in. So in theory, like for the best case scenario, for the best case scenario for a moving average cross, you have, you have say 200, you have the moving averages crossing with the price right there. You also want to think about the environment, right? Like moving average crosses, you need like if you need something to reverse, right? Like a reversal candle needs a trend to reverse. Moving averages need a trend to reverse. So if like the 200's like that and the 50 is like this, that's not really a cross because they're just kind of sideways. And you see that in this daily channel, right? And I'll show you what I mean. Hopefully I'm not getting too academic or rambling, but like right here, like look at this environment here, okay? Like these moving average crosses don't mean anything because everything's sideways, right? So you need it like a trending market is my point, right? So that's the context, that's some of the nuance. With a moving average cross, let's get back to the lesson here. So you want to look at price distance to the moving average cross. You want to look at the market. Is it trending? Is it sideways? What's it doing, right? Because you need something to cross. Then you want to look at the slope of the shorter term moving average. So, and this, I kind of alluded to this earlier, where I talked about like a sideways, slightly rising 200 and then a 50 like this. In theory, you'd want like a sharp cross. You want it to really sharp crossing to show momentum, to get like some strength of the signal, to get some juice from the signal. So all that being said, let's review. What do I think about the death cross? Well, we had a death cross here at marked the bottom. We had the death cross here at marked the bottom, and we're having a death cross here. It very well could mark the bottom, but it tells us about as much as it told us with the 834. Because the 834 EMAs, remember I showed you folks the 834 in the weekly? And I showed you how, here's the 8, and here's the 34. And I showed you how it's like failed to cross, and we're right there. It's the same concept. So this whole idea of the death cross has marked the bottom. It very well could be, but it's not predictive. And it's not that we want to, like, we're not taking any action because of that. We're still going to simplify to, if I can get a recapture of the daily range lows, I can take a long, all right? I can take a long because it's at weekly support. I can take a long because the price has bounced here and it's had similar behavior in these major lows in the past, right? It's interesting, but, the death cross there and the fact that it bottomed the last few times, but it doesn't, like, tell us it's going to bottom. And it doesn't make us any more like on guard to look. I'll probably stream longer than normal today. It doesn't make us, we're already at 40 minutes. It doesn't make us long, more likely than not to bottom because you're already on watch. You're already looking for a bottom. So that's an interesting question, about the death cross there. And that's the context. And hopefully that adds value the way I kind of broke that down for you. Okay. And I'm trying to get to all your questions. Zena says bear market. Okay, perhaps. Mohammed, what do I think about Sui? What's up, man? Good to see you, Mohammed. I don't think I have Sui on this watch list. I'll do this stream until I run out of momentum. Until I'm, really needing coffee. Okay. All right. So we see the structure breakdown. We see the rising demand trend break. We see the violation of higher lows. We see continued loss of support. So he's definitely in a downtrend. And the 200's catching up here. And it's testing these lows. It's probably, I kind of hate it here. I think it's going lower for sure. Probably dropping down to like $1, something like that. Hopefully you're not holding this. There's no reason to be holding this at this point unless you're just not managing your position. There are people who bought up here because they thought it was going to continue, and they're just holding, like, with what plan? Like, you hold up here, because it broke this resistance, but when it lost it, you just get out. Like, you have to play position by position, level to level. There's absolutely no reason to be holding any, like this at all, even $1 of it. You definitely should not. Now, if you love it, if you really like it, I wouldn't necessarily take a long here. I'd probably wait till a little bit higher, maybe back up above 220 because I want a little bit more momentum. A little bit more bullish momentum because this is a very bearish chart right now. Bears are absolutely in control. All right, talked about SUI. What's up, Major? Am I waiting for 2 weekly closes below the 50 to confirm a shift? I'm not. No, I'm not gonna. I mean, I think that's reasonable. And you speak to the idea of a confirmation method in classical charting. I have a video on that in the encyclopedia. It's video 1, which is how do I confirm a breakdown or breakout. And you know, it could be 1 weekly close, could be 2. Some people could say 3. You know, 2 weekly closes would be more evidence for sure, but I'm not. It's not a thing where, okay, one, like if it closed here, I'm not, oh, it's fine, no problem. Like that's bad, right? Like that'd be our first close below the weekly MA50 since 20K, right? So that would already be like a bad sign. I wouldn't need like another red candle. And to confirm what? I mean, it's to confirm what, right? I don't know if we're going to get what we had in 2021. If you remember, we had a failed attempt to rejoin the bullish trend back in 2021. If I can find the chart, sorry. Let's just go like this. Sometimes you get a little bit goofy there. So let's go back to 2021 top. Now, as you folks remember, some of you may remember, I did get really lucky and I called the top. That's not even 2021. Sorry, I'm getting old here, folks. So if you go back to 2021, I got a little bit lucky and I called the top. Right at the top in 2021. I didn't do that here. I wasn't trying to. I think I got lucky. But like I said, I was thinking short-term top, you know, when we had the up thrust. And I was thinking, you know, ascending triangle, you know, continuation, 100K. And I put myself out there. And then I basically said, okay, that thesis is dead when we started to close below the weekly 50. Now, in terms of confirming the top, that didn't, confirming like the longer term top for me didn't come until right here, right? So we started to break down, we set this peak, and then we broke out, and it looked like the bulls were going to continue with the trend. I took longs here. I announced on Twitter, like, if you're short, you know, your thesis is in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And then we failed to hold and dropped back below this level. And if you remember, I put out the tweet. I said, the move from 12K to 100, people make fun of Capo, but I was the guy who put out the 12K tweet, or I was one of them. I said, the move from 12 to 100K is going to be unbelievable. And that was at 45K. That's when that, for me, the top was confirmed. Now we dropped to 15K from there, which is pretty good. It's pretty close, so I'll take credit. My point I was trying to get to is you asked about the 2 weekly closes. I wonder if we'll get something like that here. Like, for example, if we get, maybe if we do something like this, right? That would be, okay, it's, you know, spaghetti-o, it's definitely over because we had like a failed recapture, or maybe even 107.5. Maybe we get like a 107.5. Failed, you know, and then a recapture. That would also, for me, be something that would, in my mind, kind of confirm the momentum. But it's not along the lines of what you're thinking specifically with, like, do I need 2 weekly closes to confirm? 1 weekly close below for me is going to be enough that I'm extremely worried. Okay. Let's see. Never had moving averages explained like that. You're welcome, Daryl. And I have videos on that. I have 2 videos on moving averages. I have one on, actually I have several, but I have one specifically on EMA versus SMA, which I use. And then I will have moving averages. What are my moving averages? And this will explain that. It explains why I use the moving averages I use. I honestly made a lot of these videos because people asked me to explain stuff. Now I can just link the video. Hey, Cheds, thanks for doing this. Could you have a look at Zen? Zen's been pretty bullish. I have it right here. Zen has been a relative strength participant. The structure actually still looks okay on Zen. We see this nice rounding bottom. It may not look too rounding to you. You say, Cheds, isn't this a triple bottom? I mean, you could call it that. You know, you got trough. You have your peaks. You've got price distance. You've got time interval. But it's just really a rounding bottom structure for me. And we're doing a series of throwbacks or bullish retests. Let's draw it very simply. That's the structure. So I think Zen looks pretty good. It's essentially a dip in an uptrend, which is what you're looking for, as long as it holds right around this 10.50 range. If it fails to hold here, and starts to roll over with the rest of the market, it'll be in trouble. But I like the accumulation. You can see here with all these volume spikes. Like, here's what I said earlier. Like, you don't need the OBV. I can tell, what's the OBV doing? Let's see. This, it's going to be kind of doing something like that and matching the price. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at that. Look at that. There's the OBV. I was just guessing what it should look like, and that's what it is. And that's my point. You don't really need, if you do it long enough and you study long enough, you can kind of see the oscillators. Like that oscillators, RSI gets information from the price. These things draw it from the price. So you can just kind of read it. It's not fully like in the Matrix where you can look at the numbers and you can see, see it, but it's kind of like that, okay? So that's Zen. So when is the downtrend confirmed? We talked about that. What's up, Matej? Good to see you, man. We talked about that. I mean, when is the downtrend confirmed? I mean, confirmed is really, user choice, as I talked about. But, the first close below the weekly would be a major sign. That would pretty much be as close to confirmation maybe as you can get. And then even the EMA 34 cross on the weekly, that would be really bad. Let's continue on. All right, Cheds, can you please explain, what's up, Jimmy? Can you please explain how to draw horizontal resistance and support? I can't find one in the trading encyclopedia. Okay. So I do have a video in the encyclopedia, let's see, called the Principal Polarity. So this support becomes resistance, and this touches upon that. And video 56. And it's the idea that resistance becomes support. I'm going to do a specific video on like how to draw resistance and support. But it should be pretty intuitive, right? So it's along the lines of, for example, let's take like how to draw a downtrend line. And then I'll do your horizontal. But we'll take like how to draw a downtrend line. And people we'll do it here. We'll use this structure. So people can get kind of hung up on like how to draw a line. Like I saw it in LTC BTC where they were trying to call a bottom, and I'm like, you're nuts. Maybe we'll do that one. Let's do that. Let's use that. LTC. Actually, I have it in a different watch list. This is my like shorts watch list. Let's take a look here. See, so LTC.BTC weekly. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's see. So the question is, like, how do you draw this downtrend line? So you can do it a lot of different ways. You could do wick to wick. And look at that. Okay. And we're on logarithmic mode right now. Let's go to linear too. Let's go to linear. Okay. Let's do it that way. So you could take this and you could say, let's do wick to wick. Yeah, we've broken it. Actually, I like logarithmic better. Looks like it makes more sense too with big price movements and high time frames. And I have a video too on logarithmic versus linear, which to use. But generally, more volatile assets use logarithmic and higher time frame. You could draw the wick, or you'd say, I really want to capture the essence of the price structure. So I would really kind of draw it like that, right? I wouldn't draw it this first way. You say, Cheds, but you're slicing through these peaks, right? The whole point of a downtrend line or an uptrend line is to identify a trend of price. Right, you're not trying to identify a specific line because the line itself is not support or resistance. And this is how this lesson, what I'm trying to do right now, relates to your question. There's a filter, there's a zone around the trend line, and it's the trend itself. And in this case, it's a trend of falling supply, more aggressive sellers along the way. So basically, you want to just draw the best fit trend line to draw, to capture the majority of the price action. You could even really just do it. You don't have to get too fussed about how to do it. You can just do it like this. Like that's as good. That's as good as any trend line. This is as good as any trend line on this structure, right? So back to Bitcoin and what we're talking about. Like, how do I draw the support and the resistance? Like, okay, you just want to look for the best fit. So, for example, I talked about like just looking at this structure. Can you see the major levels? What are some of the boxes you might want to draw? Okay, well, I see here, all right, I see very generally here, the peak of the range. very generally the peak of the range. Peak, 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 a little bit of an upthrust that went above it, but the peak of the range. Then I see right here, I kind of see right around here, this major low. It kind of looks like structure there. Okay, that's a level. You see some structure here, these peaks, and then major structure here below. Take this major low and draw it across. So understanding that it's a price zone. It's not an exact level. Is it 107.5? Is it 107.2? Is it 107.913? No, it's a zone of price. So the box itself is really just this line with a filter around it, right? It's just a filter around. You're generally describing it. And you want to look for just the best fit to try to capture the majority of the price action, right? And some charts are cleaner than others. And why you should be, let's take like Ethereum, right? Let's go to Ethereum on the weekly. So here's Ethereum on the weekly. I mean, boom. Very clearly defined level. Boom. Very clearly defined level, right? 2150 in this breakout level up here. And these are levels you take trades based off of, right? And so you just look for the best fit. You look for charts that have clean levels, and then you can structure your risk based on those levels. So I will do a video, though, specifically on this concept, but that's, more or less of what I'm going to say in the video. Okay. Spencer, on what time frame would you want a recapture of 99.5? That's up to you, Spencer. You're asking me about confirmation method. That's the first video here. It could be an intercandle. I personally, if I'm trading it, I would trade intercandle. I would just be watching it, and as soon as we get above the price, I'd be taking along because I trade at the computer. But like, let's say, you work. Let's say you're a nurse, okay, and then you come home and you check the chart. Okay, you're looking at maybe the daily candle close. You're using like one close, or you're using 2 daily candle closes, maybe a 3-day candle. Or maybe you're trading and you have sometimes you're using like 2 4-hour candles or one. That's up to you, Spencer, right? I'm just trading. I'm here. I'm a degenerate. I'm at the computer for work. I'm trading. I'm creating content. I'm playing chess on my tablet. I'm looking at the market on my phone. I'm always watching the market, right? And I'm just taking a simple recapture. As soon as the price is back up above it, I'll just kind of take a look at the structure. I'll probably drop to lower time frame. I'll take a look, and I'll probably just enter a trade, based on momentum, okay? I'm trying to answer all your questions because this is an important moment in the market. There's so many comments. I'm sorry. I won't be able to get to all of them. Let's see. Cheds, daily's in a downtrend yet. Oh, okay. Let's see. Daily is right now what's called an unconfirmed uptrend. Okay, it's an unconfirmed uptrend. It's priced below a rising daily MA200. I think I have a video on this. Like, what's an uptrend and downtrend? Do I have a video on this? Here you go. Yeah, I literally have a video on this. What's an uptrend? What's a downtrend? Go watch the video. I think you'll like it, and it explains that concept. Okay. I'm happy you're still here. Thank you. I'm not going anywhere. I've been here since 2017. I discovered crypto when I had cancer. It kind of saved my life because I was able to focus on trading, on crypto, and on helping other people who are trading crypto. And that's kind of been my thing. Zhao says, thank you. Such a great dude. Appreciate you, brother. Cheds, tell us the lowest level Solana can hit if we go to 88K. Do you mean Bitcoin or Solana? So I don't like that type of thinking. Where can Solana go if Bitcoin this? No, just play Solana. If you're going to play Solana, play it based on this chart, okay? I'm not trading Solana based on the Bitcoin chart. I'm trading Solana based on the Solana chart, okay? What's the lowest Solana could go? It could very easily test, the 130 level. It could very easily test, these recent lows in the weekly, all right? Very, very easily test these lows like around 100. But I don't have like a, if Bitcoin, then Solana. My brain, I don't like to think that way. It doesn't make any sense to me. You trade Solana based on Solana. Trade whatever you're trading based on the 4 corners. As Judge Judy would say, I love Judge Judy. She looks at a contract and people make a deal. And then after they sign the paperwork, they say, hey, Judge, after we made the contract, we agreed on a side deal. And she's like, what are you talking about? The side deal, whatever's in the four corners of the contract, right? And it's the four corners of the chart. Just trade the chart in front of you. Don't overcomplicate your method. Like, what can Solana do if Bitcoin's 88K? Like, what are you doing? Just eliminate that way of thinking about it. You're adding too many variables, okay? If you're trading Solana based on a recapture of 145, then it either holds 145 or it doesn't. Like, just ignore what Bitcoin's doing. Okay, what do I think about hype? It had been really strong, but it's definitely rolling over. Let's find it in my list. Here we go. Yeah, yikes. Okay, definitely rolling over. Oh, I hate when it does that. I go to grab the pointer, and it just draws those lines. It's my fault, of course. Yeah, hype's rolling over. It's definitely rolling over. Series of lower highs. Do you want to see the lower highs break? I'd really like to see it back up above kind of $40, $41. I would be careful until it can recapture this level. It looks to be pushing lower. I mean, it's got support here. It's still got a bunch of support, but it has more of a slow bleed. This, to me, has kind of a slow bleed type of look to it, which can be frustrated. But even though it's an uptrend, I would give bears the edge right now on it. That's my opinion. I missed you, man. Very honest. Your videos are best. You missed me. Where'd you go, man? I mean, I've been here. I've done a stream at least once a week for a long time, and I'm on Twitter all the time. And I put up brand new videos literally every day. Every day, you get a new video from me in the encyclopedia. So I haven't gone anywhere. Thanks for the live. You're welcome, Julian. Can I do Dash? You got it. What's up, Tamir? Dash. I think I have Dash in here somewhere. Yep, there is. Dash is pretty strong right now. Dash is a relative strength participant. It's strong relative to the rest of the market. Let's do a few more, and then I'm going to wrap it up. I'm running out of steam here. So it's strong relative to the rest of the market. Look at this volume spike. What does this tell you about the OBV? What does this tell you, folks? OBV, right? Do you still think you need these indicators, or can you see it in the price, right? You can just read the chart, man, right? It's bullish. Let's go to the weekly chart. Yeah, that's a big deal. So I'd like to see it hold here above 70 on this consolidation, maybe even a little bit lower if I'm being a little bit more forgiving. So I would like to see it hold above 55.60 rather, to kind of build that base. I like this accumulation. The weekly candle is a little bit scary. This is a bearish harami. It's also a shooting star, even though it's not a shaven bottom. It's got a little bit of a wick. Big volume, a little bit concerning, but we remember that these candlestick signals are short-term signals, may just mean a retracement to kind of to this range and go. I mean, the daily chart is still pretty good, and we zoom into the daily chart, and we see that it's actually a decent amount of accumulation, looking at potential throwbacks or retests of the $55 to $60 range. I just like to see it hold generally here. That being said, it's one of the best-looking charts right now. It's a rough market. Zcash still looks pretty good as well. I was looking at Zcash. I almost took a trade on it yesterday, and I did not, but that's okay. I don't mind it. Like, I don't have to trade everything. I was actually looking at the 1 hour, and I was looking at the structure of the 1 hour turning around. Right? Structure of the 1 hour turning around. I actually drew this like C fork. Goomba has a C fork. I did a video on the Chuvasov's fork. And just the momentum turning around, and really just see it's a two-level filter breakout, very simply put. Where you get the descending supply trend break, you get some type of a lower high break, or even up here, chopping through the lower high break and eventually continuing. So you see the momentum here. Nice rally, and it's got some decent momentum. So Zcash looks pretty good too. But I don't think it's going to just straight break out here. And nobody asked about Zcash, but I brought it up. I think it's probably just going to set a lower high at some point, then come back and set a higher low, and you end up doing this. And then we'll have to see how that plays out. That would be my best guess. All right, Carlos. Hey, Carlos, nice to see you. Super. Let's just move on, though. Carlos, great to see you. You'd asked me about Bitcoin versus gold. What is Bitcoin versus gold? Well, let me go ahead and just take a look at gold for fun. Let's see what gold is doing. Okay, lower high, consolidating. Still looks pretty bullish, though. Still looks pretty good. What is my take on Bitcoin versus gold chart? I mean, what is it? Gold? No, XAU. Actually, let's go here. We want to go to stocks. I want to go to all, and then we want to do like that. Bitcoin versus XAU. There we go. So what do we think about Bitcoin versus gold, or that's versus XAUUSD? It's going to do basically the same thing. So, it's at a key pivot point. It's at a point where it's held in the past. It kind of does look like a head and shoulders top on this chart, and then kind of a dual top to here. But it's overall an uptrend, right? What's your question? What do I think about it? BTC has made a high in 2021, okay, and has not been able to break it yet. Fair enough. The weekly chart looks like a rising triangle, which is bullish. I'm on the weekly chart. Yeah, I get you there. So you're saying a rising triangle. So you're thinking of like an ascending triangle, something like that. Ascending triangle has aggressive buyers, rising demand trend, a flat overhead level, but it's breaking that. And it's breaking this higher low structure. Higher low, now this higher low is being violated. So this looks like it's headed back down, to be honest. This looks like it's headed back down. This outperformance of Bitcoin versus gold is probably cooling off just a bit. It's probably going to revert to the mean, which means probably come back to the middle here somewhere, would be my best guess. Okay? All right, I'm running out of steam. I want to try to answer a few more questions. I really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much. I rarely go for more than an hour, ever. Sure, I'll do Theta. You asked twice. We'll do Theta real quick. Theta USD. And then I wanted to see if there's a couple follow-up questions. I'll tell you briefly what I think about Theta. Yeah, this is bad chart. Get rid of it. Delete it from the watch list. Weekly chart's rough. Daily chart's really, really bad. Hopefully you're not holding this, right? You're not holding this, right? There's no reason to be holding this chart. It's a very, very, very bad chart. If it bounces, it could be a nice short. If you get any kind of a bounce back up to that, 70 cents range, I would take a look at a short. This is a pretty nasty downtrend. Theta looks terrible. Nitram, you're not holding this, right? Please tell me you are not holding this. All right. First Star says, I created that AI Cheds companion we were chatting about. Are you serious? How do tell me, First Star, did you really? Contact me on Twitter. You got my email, chedstrading@gmail. I want to see what that's all about. Based on my trading quotes videos. That'd be so cool. Let me know what that is. I'm very curious to know what that is. Shoot me an email or just reach out to me there. First Star. Sure, I'll look at Tau. I'll try to do a few more. I really want to try to answer everybody's questions. Just when I'm live, I like to take advantage of it. Yeah, I don't like the failed breakout on Tau. I don't like it. Looked like a really nice setup, and I actually took a couple longs that got stopped out here, the 450, 460, even 500 range. I was expecting it to continue, and it did not. And this is a pretty good example of, as I was saying earlier, where if you test if you enter the range, you can test to the bottom of the range, and it's doing that right now. So it's probably just going to go sideways rather than going straight down. So I'm not a fan of the failed breakout, unfortunately. Crypto wondering if your subscription comes with live. I don't have a subscription on Twitter. Look here, let's go to sub. Do you want to see my subtweets? There's none. There is no subscription. I've actually told people not to sign up. And Twitter, I've asked them to remove it. They refuse to remove it because people still sign up and they get free money and they're stealing your money. Like I signed up for it like several years ago. I was just curious what it was. And then they like randomly approved it last year. So there is no Twitter subscription. Do not sign up. I get $0. It goes all to Elon Musk, and you get nothing from me. There's nothing. There are no subtweets. There will be no subtweets. I don't have a subscription. Pretty much everything I do is free, except, of course, Bitcoin Live, which I'm unbelievably dedicated to. I mean, I save my best for Bitcoin Live, and like if I'm tired or I'm sick, I will skip YouTube. I will never skip Bitcoin Live. And this is my team that I work with, so it's the best team in the world that studies crypto. So that's, if you want premium, that's Bitcoin Live. But really, Twitter, YouTube, I just jam out a ton of free stuff for you folks. There is no Twitter subscription, okay? Just read a few more questions. Do you prefer match candle formations with trends, or do you prefer to see support and resistance levels of confluence? I really want to see support and resistance. Confluence is important, right? So, for example, if you're taking any trade, if you're taking any trade, let's say you have the Bollinger Bands, and let's say there's major structure here, and it broke out, it did whatever it did. Sorry, someone's texting me. I was seeing it in another window. It does whatever it does, and say it comes down, and you form like a really nice hammer candle here at the lower Bollinger Band. That hammer candle lines up with this prior structure. It came up, it did whatever. That's called confluence. It's the. And let's say maybe it's also like an SMA 50. So you have a hammer candle at the SMA 50 at prior, at key support. That's confluence. And that's how I like to do it. I kind of look for signals that have confluence, kind of have things that line up to give me a little bit more confidence. And I want to wrap up on Bitcoin in a second. Let me just review any more comments. I'm not going to be able to get to all the comments. I'm really sorry, folks. There's been so many of them. I didn't know that. Love you too. I love chess. Yeah, I love chess. Sometimes I feel like I'm really good at chess, and other times I lose like 10 games in a row, and I'm like, But it's like trading too. Like I find that if I'm rushing through it and not thinking, I do poorly at chess. The same thing with trading. Let's see. Okay, I'm really sorry. There's so many. I'm just sorry. I would love to get to all these comments, but just checking here. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, so my apologies, folks. Try to catch me the next time. What we're looking at in Bitcoin is we're at a major turning point in the road. I want to reiterate a couple things. First of all, let's review that we are right at the point where the 8 and the 34 are preparing to cross. Now, there's been a failed cross each of the last 3 times ever since we bottomed, right, in 2022. Failed cross, failed cross, failed cross. It's trying again. We don't want to see this cross. That's going to be a data point. You'll see me tweeting about it. You can refer back to this video to kind of understand. And we're potentially closing below the weekly SMA 50. SMA meaning equally weighted 50-period moving average. Okay. Held here. We held here nicely. EMA 8 primary uptrend, mean reversion. EMA 8 primary uptrend, mean reversion. EMA 8 primary uptrend, mean reversion. Do we hold? Now, there's that, and we're going to combine with other structure, right? We had the inverted head and shoulders continuation, and we had the throwbacks, the bullish retest from above, failure to hold above the level. Now we're in the level. I think if we close here, around here, on the weekly candle, there's a pretty good chance we head back down to the, 78 to 80 range in the next few months, right? And we'll kind of go from there, right? I don't need to talk about this level. I don't need to talk about this level, which I think would be the nut bottom of any kind of a bear market. I think the nut bottom would be 40K. If we, I'm not here, hey, Cheds calls it 40K. No, I'm saying if we, of course, level to level, but if we, start to roll over, there are some structure we would test along the way, but I don't think it would go lower than 40K. I'm just saying that, but in the meantime, we're watching to see this weekly close. Now, what if we just do what we did here? What if we just have a simple sweep and a recapture? We want to be ready for that. We want to position ourselves, okay? And to do that, we're just going to simply zoom in a little bit. We'll go to see, I did it again, right? We'll go to the daily chart. We'll grab these daily lows, very clearly defined structure, and a recapture of that level would trigger a long position. If you're even more conservative, 107.5 is incredibly important for the trend. You would trigger a 2-level filter breakout, descending supply trend, and a recapture of a lower high. And then that would be a place you would definitely have to take long. If we're going to 150K, 160K, you can just simply ride it, from 107.5. So you have those multiple long triggers. In the meantime, I think you have to be incredibly careful as prices below the weekly 50 and below daily range lows. And below the weekly swing low. The weekly swing low was right here. I have a video recorded on swing low. I haven't uploaded it yet, or I've uploaded it, hasn't been published yet. So, just you can see where you want to be risk off until we're back up above really 99.5. And then you can, we can kind of go from there. So we're at the crossroads. We're where we've held in the past, the last few times. Will it hold again? It could look so obvious in retrospect. Of course, this is a bottom, but You don't have to guess. Just wait for some momentum and ride the trend. Wait for a recapture. Because until then, just be careful. Be a little bit risk off until we can recapture that level. Roger says, I appreciate it. Enjoyed the stream. Thank you. I'm going to try to catch another soon. Yeah, when I have other people saying that they're going, I know the stream has been going on long. We're an hour and 10 minutes. That's long for me. So, folks, I will remind you I'm on Twitter at Big Cheds. Okay? I publish 4 books. They're pretty much all free on my YouTube channel at Cheds Trading. I have the Trading Encyclopedia. There's a new video every single day, 3 minutes, designed to teach a professional TA. I have the Trading Quotes book. I'm doing the entire book free. My cancer memoir. If you have cancer, prayers to you. And if you know someone who has cancer, prayers to them. You can read about my journey there, my struggles. Long form interviews, all that good stuff. My favorite exchange, Bing X. I've been with them for like 6 years. Really, really like them, appreciate them, trust them. And of course, Bitcoin Live. I'm a founding analyst. I've been with them since the beginning. This is my team. When you sign up, you get access to not just my stuff, you get all their stuff too. I mean, it's the best team in the world that studies crypto. So you maybe want to consider checking them out. In the meantime, soak up all my free content. Shoot me a comment. Let me know if you like the videos. If you don't like the videos, that's okay. I'm trying to get better at criticism. So if you don't like it, just tell me it's all good. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like me. That's all good. I'm just happy to be here. And I am very thankful that you decided to join this stream. There were a whole bunch of questions I didn't get to, and I'm really sorry. I got to a lot, but it's over an hour. I'm running out of steam. So I'll try my best. I'll try to get to them next time. Maybe drop a comment in the video. Maybe I'll reply to you that way. But until then, let's have some fun. Let's dance it out with Church of Eight Wheels. And you just catch me on Twitter, catch me around. So here we go.